Hello, this is Jason with Small Biz WebWiz. Today we're going to go over floating divs. Now this is the HTML document that we had prepared in our previous lesson. If you want, you can just copy that, pause the screen, copy it. Make sure to get the CSS link there. Also, you need to create this CSS document. Really simple, straightforward. We're just using 3 classes. Now, to get to the floating the divs here, we want to take a couple steps and kind of stylize this before we actually float anything. So let's go to our CSS document. We're going to set the size of this wrapper, because right now, if you look, let's look at the document. The wrapper is this black box. It's wrapping all 3 of these divs. It goes across the whole browser. We don't want that to happen. We want it to shrink down. So let's do that first. Let's go to our CSS document. Under the wrapper, we're going to set a height of 200 pixels and a width of 200 pixels. Make sure to get that. Save it. Test this out. Now everything should be squished down. And there it is. Everything's in this perfectly 200 by 200 pixel box. It actually squeezes down all these divs contained within that wrapper to fit inside there. Now, let's close this down. Now, just to make this a little bit clearer what's going on, I want to make the content box and the header different colors, the background colors different colors, just so you can understand what's going on. Here's the background color. Let's make this one green. And this one here, let's just copy for the header, but change the color to purple. Save it. Now our content boxes should both be green and the top header should be purple. Go back to our HTML document, run it in Firefox, and there they are. And you can still see our wrapper in between there showing through the black wrapper. When we're done with this, you're not going to see that wrapper, but it will still be there in the background. Next step, I want to have the header take up the top half of our box. So our wrapper is actually 200 high, so we want this to be, the header to be half the height of that wrapper. So let's put a height of 100 pixels and make it the same width as the wrapper. That way it only takes up the full width, but only half the height. Save that, test it out, and now it's taking up half of our wrapper. Now what we want to do is we want to have this content, one be on the left, one be on the right, but in perfect two little squares side by side. So to do that, we're going to have to actually float. And this is where our floats come in. So on our content boxes, we want to first establish a height and a width. The height will only be 100 because we have 100 pixels left. Remember, we have 100 pixels already taken up by our header, and the wrapper is only 200 high, so we only have 100 pixels left of height to fill up. And the width is going to be half the width, because we're going to have 2 boxes side by side. One's going to be 100 wide and the other is going to be 100 wide, so that takes up the 200 of our width of our wrapper. So that should pretty well fill up our box. So save that document, run it in Firefox. Now you can see that these boxes, they don't fill up the whole document correctly. They just go down. That's because we didn't float. And that's why we need to float these 2 content boxes to make them go side by side. Right now, the HTML thinks that we want these 2 items below each other, because it's just the way that it's doing in the code. It has our first div, and then it's going down to the HTML code, and it's putting our second div. Well, it moves it down the float will actually tell it that we want that second content box to be up and on the left side of the other content box. So it'll move this up here next to it, and then everything will fit in there really nicely. So let's close this down, and we want to float everything that's contained within that box. So float left, and that's on our content boxes. So all you got to add, float left. Now I'm thinking that we might have to add a header float left on here too, but let's check out our HTML document first just to see what happens. Nope, it actually worked without the float on the other one. So now we got these two content side by side, and just to kind of make this a little bit more clear, let's go to the CSS document. Let's copy our content box, make 2 copies of what we already wrote, put 1 on the top one and 2 on the bottom. So we have content box 1 and 2. Save that, and then on here put 1 and 2. And now we got 2 different classes defined, and now we just gotta put a different color on these classes. So let's put a different color on this content box. What's a color we haven't used yet? I think brown. I think that's another color we can use. So save that as brown, and now you'll really be able to see what's going on. And there we go. So we got our 2 content boxes, our header. I hope that you learned a lot from this video, and you can start messing around with floats, resizing things, and have fun with your websites. Visit my website, www.smallbizwebwiz.net, and thanks for watching.